In this video, we'll be breaking down UFC 298 in its entirety. Links to everything are in the description of this video. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the breakdowns. But now in the women's flyweight division, Andrea Lee takes on Miranda Maverick. Both of these ladies have had ups and downs in their career. More downs lately for Andrea Lee. She's coming off of a 3-fight losing streak, but she seems to do a lot of this in her UFC career, and that's similar to what Miranda Maverick's been doing. But Maverick right now, she's doing one of these, right? She's 3-2 in her last 5, 2-3 for Andrea Lee. Maverick, she's coming in looking at her career best. She seems to be improving rapidly in her career. She's got solid wrestling. She's got a very powerful double leg. She's got good cage push as well. She gets the opponent up against the cage, starts working for her takedowns from there. Once she gets it, she's very heavy on top, and she does have a very good arm bar. We saw it a ton on the regional scene, a little bit in the UFC, but mostly on the regional scene, she's gotten that arm bar just pretty easily. So that's probably her best submission. But otherwise, she's heavy on top, controls, does a good job there. In the striking, she's got decent striking. She's clean, but it just seems a little bit slow for some reason. I don't understand it. It just seems slower than it should. I don't know why. I don't understand. Either way, for Andrea Lee, she's going to be the better striker. She's a good striker. She puts together clean, crisp combos. She's got good volume, and she's got some decent zip to her shots, right? When she lands those punches, you hear them, you feel them. So she's got the better striking overall. And I think that's going to show when it's on the feet. If she gets to the tie clinch, she's very damaging there with her strikes. But the problem could be if she gets to the tie clinch, that's not very far away from getting pushed up against the cage. And once you're pushed up against the cage against Miranda Maverick, then you're in trouble because then you got to start doing the wrestling. Now, Andrea Lee, she's got decent wrestling offensively, but defensively, she gets taken down and she can be controlled. And I think that's what's going to happen here. So I'm taking Miranda Maverick to get this one done using that wrestling. And I think it's probably going to decision. She's going to have a dominant wrestling performance, but she's going to eat a few shots on the feet along the way. Let me know what you have, and I'll see you in welterweight. We have Elliott taking on Val Woodburn. It's an interesting one here because we don't have a ton of information on these guys. Elliott 9-2, 5-0 in the last 5, 4-1 in the last 5 for Woodburn. He's 7-1. The only loss being a Bo Nickel. Now, for Elliott, it's another guy I picked against on the Contender Series, but he proved me wrong. He lost most of that fight, but this dude is durable as heck, and he just kept on coming, right? Elliott, darn near gets finished, comes back, fights through whatever. This dude is all heart, and he's super, super durable. But his striking it's not bad. It's decent, but it's mostly just volume and durability, and that's what gets him by. But he can get backed up. He does have pretty good wrestling, and he'll enter under his opponent's strike. So what do I mean by that? Like his opponent throws maybe a 1-2, and he sees that, and he goes right underneath, changes levels, and gets the takedown. So he does have good takedown entries, and he's got good ground and pound when he gets to the mat. For Val Woodburn, we don't know a bunch about this guy because he's fought a lot of guys that aren't the best, and then he fought Bo Nickel. So dude's got powerful striking. It's a little unpolished, and he flings like a lot of big, wild, looping shots, whether they be hooks or overhands or whatever. But his best weapon is the cage push, and he's got decent wrestling overall from what I can tell. But that cage push, when he gets guys up against the cage, he's heavy on them, pushes them up against the cage, grinds on them, and lands these heavy elbows. If anybody is going down in this fight off of a big power shot, it's going to be Elliott. He's going to get dropped off of one of these big elbows. But this dude is durable as heck, and I think he's going to be able to get back up, and I think he's just going to keep on coming. And I think eventually he's going to be able to overwhelm Val Woodburn, probably beat him. I'm going to say by decision, but I'm not confident in this fight whatsoever. Woodburn can hold him up against the cage, just bludgeon him for the 3 rounds and get a decision that way. This one's a pass, but I'll take Elliott just because he seems to be tough as nails. So there you go. See you guys at welterweight, where we have Josh Quinlan taking on Danny Barlow. And if you happen to be enjoying yourself thus far, why don't you do me a favor, hit the like button on this video. It does go a long way, and I appreciate it very much. Danny Barlow, he's undefeated at 7-0, 5-0 in the last 5 fights. Josh Quinlan, he's got 1 loss on the career. He's 3-1 and a no contest in his last 5 fights. His Contender Series fight was overturned to a no contest. Failed drug test, so keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to the intangibles here with the height and reach, what we're going to see is 6'2" with an 80-inch reach being very impressive over the 6', 72-inch reach of Josh Quinlan. So Danny Barlow has the natural reach advantage and a striking matchup that's going to be huge for him. However, there's a little bit more to this matchup than meets the eye. Now, Danny Barlow is a guy that I kind of counted out on his Contender Series matchup. It was a bad matchup for him. When I did the tape for him, I saw that he could be controlled on the mat, and he was going up against a pretty gosh darn good wrestler in his Contender Series matchup against this guy named last name Forrest, Raheem Forrest, I think it was. Anyway, I picked Forrest, and I thought he was going to be able to take down Barlow. I thought he was going to be able to use his, ability to get in tight and get the fight to the mat and lay on him and win a decision or even pound him out later in the fight. Boy, was I wrong. Danny Barlow hits like a truck, and he put Forrest to the mat, no problem. I knew he hit hard, don't get me wrong, but I just thought that, yeah, the takedowns are going to come. He's not going to get put out like that, this, that, and the other. Danny Barlow proved me just wildly wrong and even dropped a comment on the video to tell me about it, so that was actually pretty funny. But Barlow did great. Good job to him. He does have very good striking, good power. The counters, that southpaw cross, guys, he'll pull back, hit that, and with that 80-inch reach, something that people don't really realize. Guys with long reach, those long, lanky arms, their straight punches are way more powerful than their hooks and uppercuts. Shorter guys with just that tight, compact body, their hooks and uppercuts are typically going to be way more powerful than their straight punches. Danny Barlow has an 80-inch reach. So what does that mean? That this dude has long arms. What does that mean? That straight cross is going to be an absolute banger of a shot. And I think that's what he is going to get in this matchup at least once. Now, does it put out Josh Quinlan? That's what we're going to have to find out because Josh Quinlan's a tough guy. We're going to cover him in a second. But Danny Barlow, he's going to land this shot. Is he going to put out Quinlan with that shot? That's the question. Because I don't see any way that he doesn't land it unless Quinlan just comes across and just dives at legs immediately and just butt scoots his way over if he doesn't get the takedown. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. Now, with Barlow, he's also got other tools in the stand-up. He's got good kicks, his leg kicks in particular. He works them inside. He works them outside. He attacks the knee, whether it be a stomp or like a kick, just like a front kick to the knee or whatever. He's going to attack the leg in various different ways, and that's going to get people, kind of reaching down for those legs. And when they start reaching down for the leg, to catch the kick or, whatever, that's when that cross comes through off of the fake leg kick or even throws one and steps through, and that's when he's going to drop people with that. Now, like I said, he can be controlling the mat. So Quinlan has a grappling edge here from what I can understand. If he goes in for the takedown early, he might get it. But he also has poor takedown defense of his own. So maybe Barlow, decides to go in for a take. I don't think so. That's not going to happen. But either way, Quinlan, he does have good sweeps on the mat, things like that. He's the better grappler is what this tells me, right? This might not come into play here. What this tells me is he's the better grappler based on what we've seen. Barlow might be a better grappler than I give him credit for, but from what we've seen, better grappler is going to be Quinlan. I keep erasing stuff. Sorry, guys. Either way, Quinlan in the striking, though, he's a powerful striker in his own right. He's got this blitzing style where he's going to come in and just land his shots, and he's got very, very heavy leg kicks. But the problem is, I think he's going to try to throw one of those and get caught with the cross. I can't get it. Barlow's probably winning this one by first round knockout. That's what I'm picking. I think it's going to be that southpaw cross, just like I said. But let me know what you think. I know a lot of people think Quinlan's got a shot. I know a lot of people think Barlow's going to knock him out in the first round. Which camp are you in? Or do you think we're going to get a decision here? I don't know. Let me know. I'll see you guys in the next. Absolutely wild matchup here between Zhang Mingyang, I think is how you pronounce that. Let me know if I'm wrong. And Brenson Ribeiro. This is a tough one to call because both of these guys can put the other guy's lights out in an instant. For Ribeiro, he's coming in 3-2 in his last 5 fights after cashing big as an underdog on the Contender Series. And he's going against Zhang, who is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. His career has been a tale of 2 different fighters, which is why I don't have a ton of notes here, because a lot of the things I wanted to write up here were when he was a different fighter, essentially. Like early in his career, started really young, came to the game when he was, a teenager, and just wasn't that good. But he grew along the way, got a lot better, and he's on a pretty good win streak. I think it's like 6 fights or more, 8 fights, something like that. It's a pretty good win streak, right? So for Zhang, he's 2 different fighters in his career. Like you look at it and you could break that record off at a certain point and say, oh, this is the guy that was like a subpar 500 or so fighter, and this is the fighter that we have now who is much better. So that's why we've just got the smaller amount of notes. I'm going off of what we've seen, lately, right? What have we done for me lately? Ribeiro, we're going to start over here. The guy's got good striking, long, clean straights, and I mean, they're powerful. Like, he throws hard shots, but the straight punches are where it's at for Ribeiro. He's got good leg kicks as well. His striking defense, once people get inside the pocket on him, it's not that good. He does have long, lanky arms, though, so people do have to come through that danger zone, and that's a problem for them. But the striking defense, once they're inside, is not very good. In the grappling department, off his back, he's very dangerous, but he's willing to stay there, and that's a problem for him. But he is pretty dangerous because he attacks subs constantly. He's got a very good high elbow guillotine. And like I said, he just accepts that position longer than I'd like, especially against a guy like Zhang. Now, if he does end up on top, his ground and pound is deadly, and a lot of times that's going to come from hitting an opponent, dropping him to the mat, and then following it up. But in this matchup, if he does decide to, maybe sweep from the bottom or something, he's very capable of doing it. We've seen him do sweeps in the past. Usually he just waits a little bit too long against a guy like Zhang. Now Zhang, fast starter, comes across the cage looking like he's ready to take somebody out in the first minute, and that's what he's trying to do. He's got a good blitzing style of powerful striking, right? He's going to come forward, tons of power, blitz in, and try to knock you out. Now, if he doesn't knock you out, he's probably going to knock you to the mat. And from there, he's going to pounce on you, try to pound your head into the canvas, and what's going to happen is he's either going to get you, pound your head into the canvas, or you're going to roll over, give up your back, and he's going to take the rear naked choke. That's how it goes in pretty much all of his fights. So, where does that leave us? Guys, we're going to crack open a nice cold root beer. We're going to kick our feet up on the coffee table, and we're just going to enjoy this one as a fan because this is a wild fight, and I want to say, yeah, this one's going to end early because, it makes total sense. But sometimes those fights that you're like, man, there's no way this goes past the first round, end up just kind of being really long, like really, really dull decisions, right? So I think this fight ends in the first round and somebody's getting their clock clean. But we also thought that against like Brychek and Topuria, but that's what happens, right? So I'm gonna take Ribeiro. I think he's gonna get the win. I assume he does in the first round, or Zhang gets the win in the first round. But like I said, I'm staying away from the over/under. I think it's a tricky one just for the fact that you never quite know with those guys that are supposed to get it done in the first round. And Ribeiro's gonna probably have a slight grappling advantage, but I don't know. Tough one. Let me know what you got. If you have a strong take either way, I'd love to hear from you. And otherwise, I will see you in the next fight. We've got the bantamweights. Nakamura takes on Carlos Vera. Carlos Vera, he's from the Ultimate Fighter. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. The Ultimate Fighter exhibition match does not count. So 4-1 in the last 5 fights. Nakamura, undefeated prospect, 5-0 in the last 5, 8-0 on the career. Vera, he's got good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a very large toolbox, and he's always attacking different submissions with the tools in that arsenal. He's looking for different things from different positions. He's got a good repertoire that he can pull out whenever he needs it. In the striking, he's got pretty good high impact kicks at range, right? His boxing combinations aren't really there. He doesn't put his kicks and punches together as well as you'd like to see, but he does have very good kicks at range. And I think a lot of that is he throws the kicks when he's out of range, and once that distance is closed, he's looking to get the fight to the mat. He's not looking to stand and trade in the pocket. But the kicks are good. Jiu-jitsu's good. On the other side, Nakamura, he's a very strong wrestler. He's got very good takedowns and top control. From there, yes, he can look for submissions or look for the ground and pound, but the control, position over submission style, that's what he's looking to do. He's got a good striking as well. He's got a ton of power and a ton of speed, and that sets up that laser cross that he has. When he hits you with that, you're probably going to hit the mat. Okay, guys, here's the thing. Obviously, the pick's going to be Nakamura. Now, people say, well, at these odds, like Carlos Vera could win. Yeah, Carlos Vera could win this fight. He has high impact kicks at range. You can land a head kick, it could be over. You can catch something off the back, jiu-jitsu. He's playing from his guard, whatever. He could catch a submission. But with what we've seen, you just can't, in good conscience, pick Carlos Vera. You'd just be playing the wild number. So the pick is Nakamura. I think he gets it done, and I think he's going to cruise to undefeated 9-0 in his last 9 fights. So Nakamura is the pick. Let me know where you're at, and I'll see you in the next. The heavyweights. Marcos Rogerio de Lima takes on Justin Tafa. Justin Tafa, 3-1-0 contest in his last 5, 3-2 for de Lima. Interesting fight because on one hand, we've got Tafa who can shut anybody's lights out. He's a good striker with a ton of power, leg kicks, rips the body, good counters, and he's durable as all heck. He's got cement for a head. But he doesn't have a ton of skills outside of the striking, right? So on the other side, we've got the more well-rounded de Lima, who's a very fast starter, good striker as well, power, leg kicks, counters. See where I'm going with this? Very similar. Heavy hooks in the pocket. That's something that's a little bit different. It's, you got one guy ripping the body. You got one guy slinging big heavy hooks in the pocket. They're similar, though, very similar. Now, in the jiu-jitsu department, de Lima's the better fighter. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's heavy on top. He's got decent takedowns to get the fight there. And when he starts landing his ground and pound, a lot of people give up submissions because he just starts landing heavy shots. De Lima's the better fighter, but he's probably going to have less of a gas tank than Tafa. Tafa doesn't have a great gas tank. He's a fat heavyweight. That's just what happened. Neither of them have great gas tanks, but Tafa's going to have the better gas tank. So where do we see this one going? Okay. Yeah, tough one to call, but you got to side with the guy that's the better fighter, at least in this matchup. That's the way I see it. So I got to take de Lima, but won't be surprised if Tafa knocks him out. I'm going to take the Lima here. Let me know what you have, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Next up, we have a very well-matched matchup at 115 pounds, the women's strawweight division. Mackenzie Dern takes on Amanda Lemos. Both of them 3-2 in their last 5 fights. Both of them with 13 wins on the career. 3 losses and a draw versus 4 losses. Very close there. This is a well-matched fight on the records, but also, even more importantly, both of them looking to bounce back off of a very rough loss. Lemos got absolutely dominated by the champion. Mackenzie Dern got absolutely dominated by the former champion in Jessica Andrade. So both of them looking to bounce back. Both of them coming off of probably one of the worst losses we've seen from them in their careers. And this is a good spot for the UFC to say, okay, we can get one of them back on the winning ways. They both have some name value. We can get one of them going in the right direction, guaranteed. And then the other one maybe takes another step down the ladder and we figure it out from there. But this is top-tier matchmaking. I understand a lot of people, the internet's full of incels and they don't like women's MMA. I think this is a great match. I think this well-matched fight. And I think it's a good fight. It's going to be a fun fight. Both of these women are very durable, and we're going to get into the breakdown in just a second. But I just needed to point that out, that this is going to be a good match, and the matchmakers did their job. So whoever made this one, I applaud them. UFC, if you need another matchmaker, let me know. I understand that this was a good one, and some of them aren't the best. So I'm happy to help you. Either way, Mackenzie Dern. She's a high-level jiu-jitsu player, right? She's got a very large toolbox. She's got submission options from just about any position, which is going to be her best weapon, right? The submission threat. If she can get the fight to the mat early enough, she can rack up a ton of control time. The problem is she lacks open mat takedowns. She doesn't really have them. Her takedowns are kind of just launch herself at the opponent and hope she can pull them to the mat. She doesn't shoot traditional wrestling style takedowns very often. She tries to get to a body lock and trip sometimes. It's not the best tool in her game. And I don't know why she isn't fixating on, I need to figure out how to get better at these takedowns, but she's not, and thus far anyway. Maybe she is now, but it's just been a hole. And that's the problem that she has right there. In the striking department, we've seen glimpses of improvement. I say decent, but realistically, some fights she looks horrible, and the other fights you're like, okay, she's showing improvement. So I'm going to put her as decent. The striking defense is not decent. That's terrible, but she's a very tough girl. She's very durable. She can take a punch. She can take quite a few punches, and she usually has to eat quite a few in order to get the fight to the mat. One thing that stands out for me on the Dern side in this matchup, though, is the cardio. She's going to have the much better cardio in this matchup because she's fighting Amanda Lemos, who is someone who's faded in fights in the past. Now, I understand her last matchup was a 5-rounder, and she got dominated. But either way, in other matches, this one being a 3-rounder, maybe it'll help. But in other 3-rounders, her cardio has faded on her in the past. But she's the much better striker here, right? She's a solid striker with tons of power. She sticks that jab right down the pipe, lands it heavy. She's got good counters as well. It's mostly that counter hook when her opponents come in. I think she's going to be counter hooking Dern all night. But for 15 minutes, we're going to see a lot of counter hooks, okay? And that's good. But the problem is she's going to fade as the fight goes on because like that cardio, like I said. And Dern's going to be able to take over towards the end. So keep that in mind. Lemos gets backed up. That's not going to be a big problem here because Dern doesn't have a ton coming back at her. And on the feet, I don't think she's winning a lot of minutes there. But her output is a little bit rough, and that is something I don't like. Now, she's going to have to get on that jab early without gassing herself out, but she's going to still need to put enough volume there to keep Dern at bay because if you just let her get in, eventually she's getting the takedown. And if she gets the takedown, you're in trouble. Now, that's not to say that Lemos is lost on the ground. She does have good Brazilian jiu-jitsu herself. She's got a very nice guillotine as well, but her jiu-jitsu doesn't stack up with Dern's. So if this fight gets to the mat more often than not, Dern's going to be winning, and if this fight's on the feet more often than not, Lemos is going to be winning. I do think Lemos is probably going to win the first 2 rounds, and I think this fight probably goes over 2.5. I think we get a decision here. Played that over 2.5, so there's a free bet for you guys at plus whatever the heck it was, 135, something like that, earlier, whenever that was out. But either way, I think this fight goes to decision, and I think it's going to Lemos. I think she's going to get it done. I think she's going to be able to win the first 2 rounds, probably lose the third, and have to fend off a bunch of submissions, but still be able to squeak out a victory. And we're going to see Lemos get back into her winning ways. Dern's going to fall down the ladder just a little bit more, and she's going to have to find a way to bounce back. She's going to have to find a way to get the fight to the mat. That's the key. So Lemos is the pick. I spent a lot of time on this one. Bear with me. Most of you probably skipped this one anyway because you don't like women's MMA. See you guys in the next one. Middleweight that has me and a lot of my buddies on opposite sides. So it's an interesting one here when I break this down. We got Roman Kopylov taking on Anthony Hernandez, and this is another very well-matched fight, right? Both guys 4-1 in their last 5. Both guys kind of at that point where they've started beating some guys, and they need to kind of figure out Are they going to be top contenders, or mid-tier is going to stay where they're at, right? Middle of the road, kind of middle of the pack, and this is where they settle. Because right now that's where they're at, but they're not settling there. They're both on the trajectory upward. So we're going to have to figure out where they go from here. Neither guy has a ton of losses in the career. Literally like the same record other than one less fight for Anthony Hernandez. So for Kopylov, dude's a solid striker. He's got a very tight defense, keeps that guard tight, clean straights, especially that jab that comes straight down the pipe. Nice, crisp, clean, keeps the elbow in and snaps it through just like that. Doesn't chicken wing it or nothing. Mixes up his combinations and single strikes. Now, what do I mean by that? He'll come at you with a combination at one moment, and then he'll throw a single shot, and maybe another single shot, and then a combination, and then and a lot of times single shots is bad, right? You always put negative signs next to single strikes. Isn't that what you said, 138 MMA? Yeah, but not when you mix it with your combinations. If you're just throwing single shots, you're very easy to just kind of wait for that opening, counter strike it, or get outside of it, get away, and then look for your takedowns, whatever you need to do. But when you're mixing combos and single strikes, you can get guys just wondering whether or not it's going to be a big power shot, it's going to be a nice clean combination, what it's going to be. And it's going to give one more thing for your opponent to have to try to analyze and break down before they can make their move. So I do love that he does that. He's got kicks to all levels. Fantastic kicks, by the way. Guy's got plenty of power. He's going to rip the body as well, and he's going to set up all of the strikes with feints. And that's something that you want to see out of Kopylov. Now, in the grappling, he showed improved takedown defense, but he can be controlled on the mat, and he does give up his back to try to stand up, and that's going to be a nightmare for him in this matchup. On the other hand, we got Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez. He's got good striking, good volume, good combinations. Don't know why I said Hernandez like that. It's supposed to be Hernandez. Got it. Dude's got good striking, right? But it's not anywhere near the level of Kopylov. He's going to have to overwhelm him with volume, which is what he's going to do because the guy has a very high motor. And he's going to have to put his combinations together just enough to get inside and start using that wrestling because that's where it's at for him, right? He's got solid takedowns. He's going to chain wrestle. He's got mat returns. He's just going to continuously shoot volumes of takedowns. Keeps just coming for him. And he's just got a ton of pressure when he's doing this. He also has a very good front choke series, and he's always attacking those submissions in between his repetitive takedowns, right? I think this fight's going to be a good fight, and I think there's a world where Kopylov knocks out Anthony Hernandez, and that's what we get. But I think in this one, Anthony Hernandez is going to be able to put that pace on him and get Kopylov to the mat. And I think when he gets him to the mat, it's going to be too much for Kopylov. There's going to be a big level difference on the mat. And I think Anthony Hernandez gets this one done. Score another win on the score column for Fluffy. And let me know what you have, and I'll see you in the next bantamweight. We have Merab Dvalishvili taking on Henry Cejudo. Now, Henry Cejudo, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. That one loss coming to Aljamain Sterling. So now he takes on Sterling's trading partner in Dvalishvili. Trying to get that one back, except, Sterling moved up a weight class, so now here we are. For Dvalishvili, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Looked pretty good lately as far as just getting wins, so there we go. Henry Cejudo, world-class wrestling, and I say that because he's reached the highest level you can possibly reach in wrestling, and that's an Olympic gold medal. I don't imagine there's any other accolade you could get in wrestling that one would say is higher. So there you go, Olympic gold medal. Takedown defense, very good. He's got good takedowns as well. He's getting fantastic, excellent, top-tier single leg. In fact, he's probably got the best single leg in the entire UFC. His single leg is fantastic, is spot on, is perfect. Great scrambles as well. Basically just an all-around great wrestler. In the striking, he's pretty good as well. He puts together good combinations. He's got good power. He's got good footwork. He's got good control over the range. Darts in, lands his shots, gets back out. Also, the leg kicks. I think the leg kicks are probably one of his better weapons on the feet because he lands them pretty heavy, but he also lands them quick. He's got great fight IQ and a high motor, but he's going up against the highest motor in the game, and that's Merab Dvalishvili. He's got an insane amount of cardio with an insanely high motor. He's got solid wrestling as well, not to the level of Cejudo, but for MMA, it's a very good skill set. The way he uses it is a different method than Cejudo. He's got relentless takedown volume where he's going to chain takedowns. He's just going to shut down the opponent's offense by making them constantly defend takedowns, but he has poor top control. Guys get right back up, but that's okay because he just keeps on going with the takedown attempts. And that's what he's going to use to win fights a lot of the time, at least winning minutes. In the striking, it's decent, right? He's got decent striking. The wrestling threat sets it up. He's got a good spinning back fist, and it makes him just hard to predict because he's just going to come forward and kind of crash in to try to use his wrestling. And then he throws a spinning back fist out of nowhere, and you're like, what the heck was that? He's a durable guy as well, so I think he can take a couple of shots in this matchup if he needs to. I think Cejudo needs to get the leg kicks going early in the matchup, and I think he's going to need to try to use that range control and land his combinations. I think this is the key to victory for Cejudo. For Merab, it's close the distance and just keep shooting those takedowns. I think Cejudo spent too much time away from the octagon when he was in the best years of his life, and I think it cost him here. And I think it cost him in his last matchup because I think he was a better fighter in the time at which he was in the UFC before that retirement, right? And it passed him by. So I think he's still a very talented bantamweight. And I think he's a very talented fighter, and I think he could beat most guys in the division. I think Merab is going to be able to outpoint him over 3 rounds here. Cejudo has a chance. He's got a very good chance because if anybody can stop the wrestling of Merab, it is Cejudo. But I'm going to lean Dvalishvili for the output and the fact that he's just going to keep on coming. So give me Dvalishvili. I hate it. I don't want to pick him. I want to pick Cejudo, but I can't. I can't bring myself to do it. Dvalishvili it is. Let me know where you're at on this one. Next up, we have Jeff Neal taking on Ian Machado Garry in the welterweight division. Real quick, I want to thank everybody who's still watching this video. Thank you guys for being here. But a special thank you to the channel members and the Patreon members who help keep the lights on, get me these new markers. You see that? That's a brand new marker tonight, guys. That looks great. I switched it midway through the video, so you might see a couple with the old one. But either way, thank you guys. I appreciate you. You guys have done fantastic things for the channel. Like I said, you're helping support me beyond just watching, which watching is great. Everybody's still watching. Like I said, you're fantastic. Like it while you're doing that, won't you? But the monetary support means the world to me, so thank you guys for doing that. Let's break down this fight. We have Ian Garry taking on Jeff Neal. Now, Jeff Neal is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, but that's a little bit misleading because Jeff Neal had some health problems for a while there. Yes, he's coming off the loss to Shavkat. That's the good Jeff Neal right there. That was just a tough fight, and it was a close fight. But in his 5 career losses, a lot of them came when he had some really rough health concerns. Came into the UFC, looked great, had a rough bout with some stuff. I don't know what it was. He kind of alluded to it in a interview. I don't think it was before the Shavkat fight. Maybe it was, but I think it might have been the fight before that, where he kind of just alluded to what his health concerns were, but didn't say exactly. But he mentioned specifically that he's back to running, doing like 10 miles a day or something like that, or 10 miles, a couple days a week or something like that at like a 6-minute pace, which is pretty quick for a guy that's not a runner, for a guy that's a fighter. That's a pretty quick pace, right? And he's a big dude as well. So, he's carrying around more than 170 pounds, running pretty fast. So either ways, for Jeff Neal, he had some health concerns. He's now doing a lot better. And I think that's gonna show here. It's going to be more of the Jeff Neal that we saw kind of putting guys out, hitting them with these beautiful boxing combinations, things like that. Not the Jeff Neal where you're like, man, he's just missing something. For Ian Garry, though, the dude's undefeated, 13-0 with a 5-0 last 5 fights because that's how that works. But Ian Garry's looked great most of the time, with just moments where you're like, it's just a little blemish on that performance. So let's start on the Ian Garry side. He's a very slick striker, very accurate, good combinations, gets his head out of the way, does pretty good head movement. He strikes at all levels, whether it be with the kicks or the punches. He's got good volume, but the striking defense is the thing that really has plagued him. Even though he's won his fights, he's been hit clean quite a few times, especially early in the UFC, but even still. He does leave his chin open when he backs up. Whether he goes like this for the lean back or steps out of the pocket, his chin's often wide open. I don't know if I stepped off camera, I hope not, but he is durable and he does recover quickly. So having this here only sort of has been a problem so far because he's been able to come back and do what he needed to do to get the fight to his world, right? His grappling's good, mixes in takedowns as well, but most of the time those takedowns come when his opponents are in the middle of thinking striking. And, they'll be, back and forth in a striking battle, and Gary's going to go for a takedown now. He does have that judo background that people kind of forget about because he doesn't use it a ton, but he does have that in the old back pocket, right? On the other side, Jeff Neal. They call him hands of steel for a reason. He's got good striking. He's got very good striking. He's got tons of power, good volume, good combinations. His hands are lightning quick. He's got awesome counters. But the thing that I think is the most important in this matchup is that sneaky head kick he has. You saw him hit Camacho with it and put that dude into the shadow realm. Beautiful head kick. But he's done it to quite a few people. That one's just the one that stands out the most. But good grappling as well. Solid takedown defense and heavy ground and pound. I think it's going to be a striking matchup. That's why I just kind of barely alluded to any of the grappling. It's probably going to be a striking matchup. And I think Ian Garry's going to be winning a lot of this matchup. And I think he's going to be able to land these shots, hit the clean. And if he can make a decision, he's probably going to win this fight. But I think at some point along the way, Jeff Neal's going to catch him with that sneaky head kick and put him out. So I'm going to say right now, Jeff Neal head kick. And I'm not confident in that whatsoever because Garry could win a decision. I don't think he's putting out Jeff Neal. I'd be very impressed if he did, but I don't think he will. But I think Jeff Neal's got that head kick ability. So Jeff Neal by head kick. If you know what the odds are for head kick knockout on Jeff Neal, there's probably a sports book that has it. Let me know in the comments because I would love to flirt with that idea. I would love to hear from you. Folks, middleweight co-main event of the evening. Paulo Costa taking on Robert Whittaker. And guys, really quick, check out the merch. You can get yourself one at 130ma.company.site. Links in the description. Wait, don't worry. If you don't want one with my ugly mug on it, I've got you covered. We just released it, guys. It's the kick your feet up on the coffee table, crack open a nice cold root beer, and enjoy the show shirt. Yeah, that's a long name. I don't know. I think I named it something else on the site. But either way, basically, since most of you are males, like 97% of you, yes, I have a 3% female audience. That's probably more than anybody else in the space. If you ask them for their analytics, I bet you they can't show you a better one. So the women watch the channel. And why is that? It's because of the shirts. I'm just kidding. It's not good, the shirts. But you can get one of these shirts that doesn't have my face on it. It just depicts a generic guy, being guys, kicking his feet up on the coffee table, cracking open an ice cold root beer, and watching some MMA. It's a good shirt. You can get it in all different colors, and you can get it at the site in the description below. I appreciate everybody that gets a shirt. In fact, shout out to Johnny K. Picks, because Johnny K. Picks won our giveaway for a World of Mixed Martial Arts 5 copy, a free one, because he bought a shirt, got entered in the tournament on World of Mixed Martial Arts 5. So not only does he look so fresh, look so fly in his 130 MMA t-shirt, but he won himself a free copy of World of Mixed Martial Arts 5 that he can play on his own, at his leisure, for free, the full game. And he did that because he bought a shirt. Now, that tournament is over, but you can also get a copy of that game in the description. You know what to do. Guys, let's break this down. I've talked too much. 3-2 in the last 5 for both of these fellas. Good matchup here. Paulo, the Eraser Costa. Good striker, tons of power, great combinations. Puts punches and kicks together in those combinations. And Paulo Costa's kicks are very underrated. This dude has fantastic kicks, and they've got tons of power. They come at just like an odd speed where they come up and then they snap in. The dude has fantastic kicks and just does not get enough credit for those. He rips body shots very well. He can corner his opponents up against the cage and just unload on them with just a devastating barrage. And he's extremely durable as well. He's got good grappling, heavy ground and pound, a nasty guillotine, and he's hard to take to the mat. And if you do take him to the mat, the dude fights from the bottom to get back to his feet. He just does not accept that position. We saw this guy shuck off takedowns from Yoel Romero like they were nothing. And then when he did finally get taken down-ish, he kind of got taken down, he bounced right back up, and he was back to his feet. This dude's a freak athlete, so he can explode up to his feet with power, but he can also do so with skill because he's a skilled grappler. Now, he fights through exhaustion. He looks tired, right? This guy, Paulo Costa, he's going to look exhausted, but he fights through it like a champion because the dude just keeps on coming. He just keeps going forward, keeps throwing volume, even when he's totally black, just completely exhausted. But he's facing Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is a fantastic middleweight. He's one of the best middleweights that we have on the roster, although he's coming off a loss. It was a good fight. It wasn't actually. He got steamrolled. But either way, he had moments, and he's coming off of a couple of good wins before that. So Robert Whittaker, great lateral movement. He's very light on the toes, right? So I think it's going to be hard for a guy like Costa to pin him up against the cage and just start unloading on him because he's going to keep just dancing around, moving his feet, staying light on those toes, and just landing his shots at range. He's got a very quick head kick as well. His slip and counter style where he just gets off to the side and just bam, bam, bang, then moves laterally, gets out of the way. He's going to come in for a blitz, and this is where it's one of his best and worst things because he'll come in for his blitz, land his shots, get those off, do a good job there. But the problem is he's open to counters on the way in, and if anybody can erase you from your consciousness, it's the eraser, Paulo Costa. So he does have a chance of being caught when he blitzes in. He does have good grappling. He'll mix in his own takedowns for a change of pace. I don't know that he'll mix in a takedown here. He might attempt one, but I don't think he's going to get a takedown here. Costa's pretty hard to take down and control. I think it's going to be one of those where he does it to change things up, doesn't really commit to it, and we get back to a striking matchup. He's hard to control. He's got excellent counter wrestling in his own, so I don't think the matchup's going to go to the mat because Costa's taking him down. But if Whittaker does get on top, in the half guard position, his ground and pound is very good. Now, here's the deal, guys. Paulo Costa, as of late, isn't the same Paulo Costa that we saw, say, fight Yoel Romero, who I brought up just a bit ago. Because the Paulo Costa from the Yoel Romero fight has a good shot of beating today's Robert Whittaker. But this Paulo Costa we have, he hasn't looked like he's been taking things as serious, and he's been pulling out of a lot of fights, missing weight. Ever since he lost that shot, or that title fight against Adesanya, that was kind of just where he just started being a little bit less of himself. We've now reached the main event of the evening. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't done it already, last reminder, like the video. I do appreciate it very much. And also, if you haven't watched it already, I already broke this fight down. So I'm not going to do it again. It should be popping up on the screen if it hasn't already. Do yourself a favor. Check that out. I'm going to go over this fight in detail if you haven't done so already. It should be up here somewhere. And then check out the stuff in the description. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. See you soon.